Last time on Star Trek Navajo. The Navajo was requested by uh, Admiral Gibson's office uh, to head towards the system called Heaven, or Havia, um, to where they are to initiate first contact after they had just achieved warp travel. When approaching the system, you guys attempted to send out a probe. While the probe was able to collect data, the apparently the Havians were detected the probe and sent an intercepting ship. And eventually attempted to communicate with the probe via subspace communication, which is to much of your guys' surprise. After communicating with them for a little bit, they have requested your presence at their homeworld for essentially an official meeting. Where we last left off, you guys have beamed down to the planet's surface and are now getting ready to engage in peace talk. Well, I won't say peace talks, but first contact protocol. I believe this is the map where we left off at.
Yep.
You guys, actually, no, you headed down the
I think
elevator.
we're head. Yeah, I think we're heading down the elevator. Yeah.
Upon exiting the elevator, you are confronted with what appears to be like a lobby area. As she walks in and you're greeted, you see a man dressed in a military attire and a woman um, wearing, very, some robes and some nice fancy jewelry. All while you have been escorted by these individuals wearing what appears to be combat type armor. So, How do you guys wish to proceed?
I think we have to take the captain's lead on this. And he might have stepped away for a second.
Yeah.
It's got to bring in the groceries.
Is there any like roles you guys wish to do while you were kind of in the elevator, or observations or conversations with um, Secretary Lanny?
I guess Johnson would take a look at the Havian troops' armor and just get a sense of their battle technology, like their tactical and weaponry technology.
Give me an insight security difficulty of 1.
Energy weapons as a focus.
I'll take situational awareness.
Or situational awareness. Okay.
Um, Also, she does get an upgrade because this will be another activation for her.
That is true. Well, we'll do this roll and then I'll do the upgrade.
I will send you something real quick.
Sure.
These suits look like they're out of Mass Effect.
What should I give her as an activation? We gave her a value last time.
A talent might be good, like bold
Yeah.
security or cautious security.
Yeah. We'll do cautious security. How's that? There we go. Or actually, no, I was going to give her cautious security, not bold. Hey, you know what? Screw it. I'll give her bold. She's a bold type. How's that?
Yeah, Prax doesn't like threat at all.
I mean, quick to action is good too.
Yeah, that's another good one. Hold on, let me look that one up. Focuses.
Quick to action basically is you keep the initiative for free during the first round.
Yeah. Got it, Prax. Thank you.
Laney speaks up. Captain Perron, this is Minister Ultrek and Counselor Nali. They're with the High Council.
Minister, Counselor, it's an absolute pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Welcome, as Ultrek speaks up, to our humble world. Look forward to talking to you at a later date. Currently, I have business elsewhere. But if you excuse me, I did want to formally greet you to our planet before you met with the High Chancellor.
Well, I look forward to meeting with you and the rest of the counselor at a later date. Do they have anything like they extend a hand or anything that seems like shaking hands? That kind of ritual.
No, he there wasn't really any like handshake. He was more of a kind of stood at slight attention and kind of gave you like a slight formal like an informal bow, and then just kind of stepping aside as he heads out past, and as one of the guards follows him out.
And Counselor Nalay, will you be joining us?
Of course, it is a pleasure to meet all of you. Secretary Nanny, I will take over from here. It's like, of course. And she kind of steps aside. If you follow me, I will take you to see the High Chancellor. He's looking forward to meeting all of you.
Oh, fantastic. Along the way, could you tell us a little bit about your government? So as I don't cause offense by accident or ignorance.
Not at all. Our government is mainly controlled by a council. After our unification and, well, the travesty that befell our world, we had to embark on certain things, remove certain old ways of how we did things. A council ran, and also with the help of a vast computer algorithm, helped us achieve peace on our world. I don't know if you guys are just gonna follow her or not.
Sorry, I try to type notes and
Oh,
all that.
okay.
And multitasking as hard as I can. A computer algorithm, you say? Do you still use that to assist your government?
We do, but it's only in for the use of automation for essentially our resource gathering, and also helps point out areas of need to improvements on the infrastructure on our cities. In terms for the politics, that's still all done by us.
And your high minister, is he or they the first among equals on the council, or are they the head of the government?
He is the head of the planetary government. He was appointed by the other members of the council. In terms for how people get appointed to council, well, that is through selections.
Just to clarify, she said selections, not elections, right?
Correct.
Thank
That's not too far from how the Federation does things, where each of our member worlds sends a representative to the Federation Council uh, that then handle overall policy and lawmaking for the Federation as a whole, while each member world has uh, autonomy within its personal systems.
I'm glad to see that we're not so different. Well, except maybe a few among you. Pardon me, I am quite curious. Um, she kind of points to the right. Are your ears cosmetic or genetic?
you. Genetic. I am half of a race called Vulcan and half of a race called Betazoid.
So all of you hail from different worlds?
Most of us are from a planet we call Earth, but the Federation has 207 member worlds at the moment.
And each one of them are different races? Species?
Indeed.
Oh, remarkable. We did not think that the galaxy was so populated. Your Federation must extend a great distance.
It is quite vast. We've grown a lot since our founding. We started with just 5 worlds: Earth, Andoria, Vulcan, Tellar, and then the player forgets the fourth one, Andor. And then as they grew, more and more worlds joined our Federation. We have mutual trade and diplomatic relations between all member worlds, and serve for the mutual defense of each other as we are not the only large-scale government out in the universe.
Interesting. She pulls out like a card and swipes it at the gate. Please, you may pass through. And just kind of like as old, she swipes her card again, and start hearing like chime like something's counting down. Apologies, this might seem slow for someone as advanced as you are.
We still have to wait for elevators too.
Uh, uh, I guess there is a constant in the universe.
That much is certain.
Prax, I think he'll study her and sort of get a sense of her psychology, the way that she talks, how she handles questions, just basically to get a sense of culture and communication.
Uh, Insight command difficulty of 1.
Neuropsychology, psychiatry, would you accept that as a focus?
To get more cultural studies for that.
Yeah, well, the only cultural study he's got is cultural grief practices. So I'll just say no focus.
Gain a momentum. She comes across as she's very formal. You can tell she's been trained. What's remarkable is while she does a lot of emotions, she seems to be very controlling of her emotions.
Is there anything emotionally hinky going on that I can sense?
That would be like a momentum spend for your open book.
Okay. And spend. Okay. What we got?
I'll just speak it. She is while you can tell service thought wise, she it's very while she does you sense a sense of wonder and curiosity, uh, but her emotional state is very like controlled, almost like pinpoint accuracy. Like there is um, her mental faculties seem to be I want to say enhance is the proper word, but very precise. And how like how her emotional state or her emotions are reacting to things.
Okay. Thank you.
As the elevator comes to stop, I'm assuming everyone enters as she motions and to enter.
Yeah.
See,
And a little bit ride up, but is there any questions during the ride up in the elevator you wish to ask?
Perone would probably shift a little bit because he's been asking about government and all these kind of dry topics. We'd probably say, Counselor, tell me something about your world's culture. We've been talking about government and a little bit about technology, but what about art and music, entertainment?
Well,
Tell me something about that.
we have a wide variety of art. Many of some of the older customs did in terms for music and artwork and other things have persisted through the ages. Um, we have a whole library devoted to it if you wish to peruse that. I'm certain we can give you access to that.
Yeah, certainly. That kind of cultural exchange is also a part of the Federation. Where we learn about each other's culture through learning. We gain understanding, and through understanding, we gain peace.
Quite an interesting philosophy. Please, this way.
Peron will go in the designated direction. Per- per- Preferably not standing on top of the science officer.
Sir, our guests have arrived. Ah, one moment. And he nods as this other gentleman wearing a military suit walks back. Gives him a welcome to Havia Prime. And proceeds to exit.
Peron nods his thanks at the man as he just welcomes us and then walks by.
I misspoke. Supreme Counselor Vorex. I present to you. Uh, sorry. It's Captain Perone, correct?
It is.
And his party. Believe Nani got the information that the Navajo, is that, am I stating that correctly?
Yes, the Navajos, the name of our vessel, an exploratory and science vessel.
Well, I'll leave it to you. Kind of stands up, gives a slight bow. Welcome, Captain Perone. It's quite exciting time we live in. One that only many dream to be in a position such as I am today.
Well, it is our pleasure to be the ones that get to meet you. This is a situation that we call first contact, and that we don't do until we detect that a world has broken the warp barrier, and then it is a lucky starship captain that gets the chance to be the first to engage in conversation and diplomacy with a new world uh, into our area.
I see. Well, let me be the first to welcome you to our world. Tell us, at least, well, tell me something about your home world, Captain. I'm interested to know about other worlds beyond this star?
Certainly. My home world is called Earth, and we call our species humans. Myself and you point to the other humans among us, which I guess is Johansson and Hale. Yeah.
Vogel's not human?
Is she?
No, she's a pilot.
Yeah, that's a whole different animal.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, Vogel's human, according to her sheet. Everyone here is human except for Rye.
Except for me.
Most of those that I have with me today are humans. Our world is whoa.
Well, yeah, but are you okay?
Sorry, I closed my browser down by accident, and then when I opened it again, it decided to open everything. That I don't know how it decided what to open and what not to open. Our homeworld is, and Perone will give an approximate number of light years away that Earth is. And he will launch into kind of a generic description of the world of 5 continents, 7 oceans, wide variety of temperatures, flora and fauna, and then he will describe his homeland of Sicily.
Sounds lovely.
Johnson steps forward and says, and our technology allows us to live on other planets and worlds as well. Even though I am human, just like the captain, I was not born on the planet Earth. I was actually born on the moon, which is sometimes called Luna.
I see. Well, we do have many outposts that are on our moons here, as well as on one of our other planets. Though mostly this for resource gathering and automation, we tend to stay here.
Yes, we saw that your technology did allow for you to live on other planets within your solar system.
I'm curious. Some of your other ministers had told us of this great catastrophe, which prompted the building of the ring around your world and the planetary shields. Is now that task is complete, will you now turn? Are you now interested in turning your eyes beyond your system?
Potentially. Though for the time being, we developed warp technology, as you call it, to make our acquisition of our system much more easier. Traveling at sublight speeds is slow and tedious, especially if we wish to reclaim what's left of our world.
Are you still in a rebuilding stage then?
We are. A lot of the natural resources here was devoted to the construction of the ring. Um, it was an endeavor that took an endeavor of several generations to finish.
One of the things that we might consider as we get to know one another is how we might benefit each other by trade. Are there materials or um, other things like that perhaps you run short of that you may need? We noticed a particular mineral in some of our initial scans of your system that are of interest to us.
a trade proposal might be of interest, though I do not think that is the time for now. We are still at least getting to know each other, Captain.
Of course. Just my concern was, as you mentioned, you were still recovering, is uh, to see that if you had needs, that we could work something out to help you continue your recovery.
Well, there are many areas on the planet which need to be recultivated. The land is barren and dry in certain spots from intense solar radiation. Uh, the cleanup of these areas is, well, hazardous and time consuming and uses a lot of resources. Hence why we have to take other resources from other parts of within our solar system. Areas that are not as well as radiated.
Well, that makes sense. Am I to understand that your population is limited to selected bands within the planet?
Mainly in the cities. There are some pockets, but those are usually more for uh, future development purposes.
I understand, and you're. We'll be honest. As we were coming down in the elevator, your your city is quite attractive, and what of the land around it we saw was also quite beautiful.
The work of my father and my grandfather it took a long time to rebuild those areas.
Jim, out of game, what he's describing, is that something that Starfleet would currently have the ability to aid them with? Terraforming and stuff like that?
To a degree, yeah.
I can tell my science officer is thinking along some of the lines I am. Supreme Counselor, if you wish, this is my chief science officer, Lieutenant Ray. And Pearl will gesture towards her. Perhaps she can look at your data and we can take some scans of our own, with your permission, and see if there is a way that we can help you.
I think that's something we could work out. Though there are certain things that are beyond my powers. I'll have to discuss with the other council members. While I may reign as leader of this world, uh, for certain things, the council has to vote on.
Does Hale still get the same sense of how he talks and everything with his emotions, the way that he did with Counselor Nali?
Give me Insight Command difficulty 2.
Got it. Thank you.
If you don't mind, if you excuse us, Counselor Nalia will escort you to another area while I discuss this with other members. Council, I assume I have your vote of confidence for some of these endeavors they wish. Of course, if it would help rebuild our worlds, they'll have my support.
Yes, Supreme Chancellor, perhaps one way to facilitate understanding between our worlds is a bit of just exchange of information.
To access these areas, I have to have the vote of the council in order
Well,
for
of
you
course,
to take those scans.
what I was going to suggest before you went before you brought ideas to the counselor is that my chief science officer here can work with your scientists. My chief engineer, who's right now uh, he's back on the ship, could work and perhaps help with your technology. Um, Different experts in the field that I have aboard in different fields aboard my ship could meet with experts in your field, as well as exchanging cultural information. And uh, honestly, I would like to extend an invitation to you and a few of your advisors to have dinner with me aboard my ship this evening.
Interesting. I'll take that under your suggestion. I'll give you an answer later. Um, but if you excuse me, I do need to speak with the council on these matters.
Of course, Chancellor Vorex, we are at your disposal.
He gives a slight bow. If you excuse me, I'm sure Councilor Nally will escort you to some accommodations.
Excellent. We will follow Counselor Nolly.
Right this way. And I don't have a map for this, but I will throw all of you as she escorts you out. We'll just go to the Theater of the Mind.
Theater of the Mind. Felt like that needed music.
She escorts you to another section in the building, and she goes, "These guest quarters, this entire floor area is yours. You may use them as at your leisure. I do ask that you do not proceed any further elsewhere in the building, for your own safety, of course. We wouldn't want any harm to come to any of you."
Crone smells and says, "Thank you. We understand."
If you need anything, she hands you a communicator. You'll be able to contact me, as I've been tasked to be your liaison during your stay. Please do not hesitate to call upon me.
That is most gracious. Thank you, Counselor.
She gives a nice warm smile and gives a slight bow before entering an elevator that you came out of.
Now that we're alone, Prone will look at the away team. Say, thoughts, impressions.
Johnson speaks up and says, "Well, their weaponry looks like something that the Federation used to have 200 years ago. I'm speaking specifically of their particle weapons, and their armor has more functionality than ours, but it's also similar to Starfleet as well. But their weaponry is something we haven't seen in 200 years."
So, would you say it was comparable to Earth level technology around the launch of the of Archer's Enterprise, perhaps?
That would make sense. It's also consistent with the technological development that we see here for the most part. And then Hale speaks up and says they seem to be very occupied with repairing their world and gathering resources to repair their world. I would say that the way that they talk, their mannerisms, it's very controlled. It's almost Vulcan-like.
I had noticed that as well.
And that holds true all the way through them. Their emotions themselves. It's strange feeling so precise and controlled coming, no offense, from humans.
Well, they're humanoid, not necessarily human, Hale says.
True, I'm just used to pointier ears with that.
It is interesting, Captain, that they are humanoid and so very similar to us humans being all the way out here.
Well, that seems to be a common trait we've found wherever we go in the galaxy. Why is it that most sentient humans, sentient beings, are 2 arms, 2 legs, and sensory organs on the front of their face?
Or at least the ones that we've come in contact with so far, sir.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating to wonder why there aren't more species like the Horta, and non-carbon based life forms that we have yet to discover.
Johnson speaks up and says, if you're talking about from a tactical point of view, sir, I'm not seeing any threat that they pose to us right now. It is a little interesting that they said that they didn't want us to leave the area because they were afraid for our safety.
Well, I imagine.
Well, I mean, there's.
Go ahead.
Considering that they do have radiation issues and we would be wandering around their cities without prior knowledge, and especially if they came across someone like me, I'm not sure that the reaction might be the best.
I got the sense they didn't even want us to walk around this building. I'm not talking about wandering around the cities or outside of the city.
Well, it does seem to be a government building. We don't want people just wandering around our secret areas either.
That's true. But
I
they
didn't
do
feel
seem
anything odd. Sorry.
No, that's just it. I don't sense anything odd myself, sir. They're not overly aggressive. They don't seem to be hiding anything that I can tell so far. And I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is whether or not they trust us.
I am thinking along the same lines. That's why I'm trying to be as open as I can with them. Like to build good relations, and so would Starfleet. I think the mechanism that we get there from is being able to help them reclaim their world. Even without formal diplomatic ties or trade negotiations with them, aiding them now that they have broke the warp speed barrier and then the prime directive doesn't apply as stringently, we have more freedom to assist them technologically within reason to help them repair parts of their world.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any signs that any aid we would give them they wouldn't discover on their own, and it would just be helping their planet a little bit faster. Again, as of yet, there doesn't seem anything suspicious to me, but then again, we also haven't done anything yet.
It's also contingent upon this council that they talk about. Whatever they vote on will determine whether or not they work with us, Johnson says.
You've been quiet so far, Mr. Vogel. What do you think?
I think Vogel stepped away.
Oh no, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
And just as I was about to speak, I start coughing. I'm just listening and thinking, sir, but I did find her use of phrase "not to leave her for our safety" a little odd.
And Johnson says, right? Yeah? I felt that was odd.
Yeah, but consider that we're the aliens here. not everyone is going to be expecting us, and we don't completely apparently yet have permission to be here. For our safety, it's best that we don't go poking around in things that we don't have permission to yet. It didn't feel nefarious to me.
No, it could have been and very well could have been a hidden threat of, we'd like you to stay in this place, or their security could react. But imagine how we would feel with visitors such as them aboard the Navajo and having them wander unintentionally into the armory.
Yes, sir, but when we have visitors on the ship, there are areas of the ship that we give them access to. They're telling us to just stay right here. I'm not saying it's a threat or anything like that, but it's odd. It just feels odd.
Yes, but our permissions are also more unilateral. The captain grants permission. Here, it seems the council has to grant permission, so you have to gather the council and then speak to them. It's not as direct of a permission as what it seems to be to me.
So are we just waiting here, Captain, until this council comes back with their answer?
That does seem to be the plan. It's not a horrible thing. Gives us some time to exchange ideas ourselves. If we're given permission, Lieutenant Rye, I do want you to work with their scientists to see how the Federation might be able to help them recover their world within technological reason. While now that they've broken the warp speed barrier, we are in a greater position to aid them. We also don't want to advance them too far too quickly. I find that.
Yeah. But I was going to take out her tricorder and start taking notes of things she's already thought of. Basically like a note section.
I know that's ironic coming from a human when we were a little grumpy at the Vulcans for bringing us along slowly, but it took us a little bit of maturity to understand why they did so. And here we are doing the same thing within reason.
So if they say yes to Hale speaks up. If they say yes to your dinner invite, Captain, you're going to introduce them to Synthahol?
I think we'll keep intoxicating beverages off the menu until we get to know them a little better. While we might see such things as just a normal part of a state dinner, they might interpret the effects of alcohol as poison.
But you're also talking about bringing them along slowly, and then at the same time, you're wanting to invite them up to a starship, seeing all of our technology and all the things that we can do, including replicated food and beverages.
That assumes that I'm going to let them see the replicators. I figured I'd host them in the captain's mess. We'll have the food brought in, not replicated in the dining room. We'll limit their access to places like the engine room, but I imagine they would be interested in seeing a little bit of what we do. Much like they are doing with us here, we will limit their access. But your point is well taken. Let's keep in mind our orders are to establish initial diplomatic relations and lay the groundwork that will make trade possible. Starfleet believes that dilithium in this system will become valuable to us soon.
What is that old human? Free samples? I think that's how you said it. You give them a taste, and then they're kind of more willing to partake in things. It is free samples, right?
Johnson speaks up and says, yes, it's free samples. I'm much more interested, Captain, in not having any idea what the lay of the land is around here. I don't know what's on this floor. I don't know what building we're in. From a security standpoint, I feel that we're very exposed.
That's not unfair. But I would note that we're in the building that houses the Supreme Chancellor's office. And my guess would be a large number of the council itself.
I'm not talking about something happening to them. I'm talking about them just deciding for whatever reason that we're a threat of some kind. If I'm trying to establish a secure perimeter, I'm at a significant disadvantage right now.
That is a common risk with first contact situations. That's why I brought you along.
Thank you, sir. I guess my point here is that I don't like just having to sit here and wait. I would prefer to get some idea of where we are around here. But it seems like leaving here is going to cause more problems, making my job difficult.
Do you want us to stay away from the windows then? Because I was going to go look.
And she looks at you and she just sort of like, I'm not that paranoid.
But you did bring a tricorder with you, didn't you?
Yes, but
sir.
they told us not to do any scans until he talked to the Supreme Council.
Wait, out of character, did he?
I think that was more
For the
one.
record,
I mean,
for the record, you're like in this spire here.
Yeah.
And you're way up top. Like,
yeah, but she's more talking about she doesn't know the layout of the floor, where the elevators are, that kind of stuff.
she did say
Like,
you
yeah,
have the entire floor, so
we have access to the whole floor here. It's not just this room.
Okay.
It is probably a good idea, Lieutenant, that perhaps you and Vogel can give us a tour of this floor that we've been granted. Note entrances and exits, and come up with at least a outline of a plan in case we have to leave in a hurry.
Well, first, sir, I'm an ensign. Have you promoted me to lieutenant?
Look here.
Johnson says, look, I'll just feel better if I'm just take a look around the floor, sir. Do I have your permission to do a quick security sweep?
Absolutely, but take Mr. Vogel with you.
Sure thing. And are we allowed to do scans of the floor and of the building?
I don't remember him saying anything about that. Now, sharing information would have to go through the council. But I don't think we're going to break anything that he told us by scanning our immediate area. Unless anybody remembers differently.
I mean, if you guys want to take a scan of the area, you can.
Yeah, I think it was more like a space from the planet, the whole going in close, doing things. I think that's what he meant, like, don't scan the planet. I don't think he meant our immediate surroundings.
Okay.
Well, last game you guys tried to scan the planet, and you couldn't scan past the shield.
Yeah, now we're down on the planet, and what Johnson is wanting to do is just do a scan of the perimeter, like what security is around us. Are there cameras? Are there security grids? Something like that.
I can tell you right now, she would see it. There's cameras in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
All the the elevator doors or other doors all have some sort of lock, like electronic locking mechanism. So like either a key card or some sort of number pad.
I guess without trying to do it, can she get a sense of whether or not her tricorder could hack that if they needed to access these doors or that elevator in a hurry?
Potentially, maybe.
Okay. So Johnson just gets a walk around the floor just to get a sense of the floor and the doors and everything like that.
It's laid out like any typical high rise. There's multiple elevators. Some are more outside facing, some are inside, center spire. seems that there's several what you could assume emergency exits. Um, but there doesn't seem to be any like security. Like there's no one else but you guys on this entire floor.
To get to the emergency exits, though, is it just a door to open, or does it require a key card?
It looks like it requires a key card to open.
And the elevators require a key card, right?
Correct.
So to get off this floor right now, it would require a key card, right? If we wanted to go downstairs or upstairs or anything, it would require a key card.
Yes.
Okay.
How is this suite that we're in decorated?
Very lavishly. Like something you would see at like a 5-star hotel, presidential suite type deal.
Okay. I expect to see artwork and decorations in a place like that. What kind of feel for the people could I get looking at their art?
There's some various sculptures. It's kind of similar to sculptures you see on Earth. But give me an insight. I want to say it could. If you're looking at the art, make it. I guess insight. I guess command difficulty of 1.
Okay, I'll be a brave boy and not and just roll it flat. Can I use cultural studies as a focus?
Yes, you can.
Brave boy.
Whoa, go, Captain, go.
3 momentum gained. At first glance, the artwork it looks really it seems very almost generic like. But as you study it, some of these different art pieces, it's almost like there's a mathematical component. Like every stroke is meticulous and brushed in very accurately. It's almost if a robot or a Vulcan would have painted it.
Are there any common themes among like paintings and sculptures and things? Like militaristic or technocratic or nature, kind of broad themes.
There's more broad themes. Like some are painting of like locations, beautiful like most of them are all scenery based. There really isn't any portraits of individuals in the room.
Seems like a thing to share with my counselor. Prom will kind of motion over to Dr. Hale. So, Dr. Hale, notice the art, notice the brushstrokes in this painting, and the striations in this small sculpture. Very precise. A couple of you were mentioning during the briefing about the very structured thought patterns they had and speech patterns. It seems to be echoed in their art as well.
I had no idea art was something that you were interested in.
It is one way to understand a species' cultures through what they choose to portray through art.
True, and I think I notice here that their artwork doesn't seem to show images of people. It's landscapes. Maybe that's consistent with their psychology. They seem to be very focused on reviving their world, the parts of their world that are scarred and damaged. And they're scouring out throughout the rest of their solar system for resources to do that. Repairing their world seems to be high priority in their mind, almost as if this is just a guess on my part, but almost if they feel guilty about something.
Interesting observation. I would have called it a cultural obsession, but that's an interesting thought as well.
They want to repair their world. They want to repopulate it. I guess the question that I have, they said the solar flares, I believe, caused it. But everything about them is very ordered, very measured, very controlled. You don't see a lot of, I guess the word would be chaos, unless you go outside of the cities. And we haven't had a lot of exposure with that yet.
Perhaps the order of their art and their culture and their speech patterns, perhaps even their science and technology, when we get to see those things, perhaps it is a reaction formation to the chaos of their world.
Certainly possible. I have to know more by talking to them and understanding them. But for the ones that we've seen so far, very, very controlled. In fact, the counselor, the Supreme Chancellor himself, very interesting. Everything that he said was very calculated, or seemed to be that way.
Well, some of it I would attribute to caution, having met an interstellar species for the first time, but it does seem to be a common trait. They will probably get along well with the Vulcans.
Yes, that's the other thing. They seem to be interested in this, but not necessarily excited. You would think that meeting an alien civilization and one that so closely resembles them would bring out some kind of excitement. Instead, it's very measured, very controlled. Again, very much like Vulcans.
But still there. It was certainly, I certainly got the sense that they were interested. Now, I don't know if Lieutenant Rye picked up any of that with her empathic abilities, but certainly there was that element of interest and excitement, just as you say, tempered. I am most interested in introducing them to our chief engineer. Speaking of whom, Perone is going to tap his comm badge. Navajo, this is Captain Perone.
Navajo here. This is Solak.
Commander Solak, just it's about time for a check-in. The away team is currently without concern. We've met the leader of their government, or at least the head of their council, and are awaiting further meetings. I was curious if they talk a lot about damage to the system caused by solar flares. Now, while we can't scan their home world for signs of such, solar flares should have affected every planet in the system.
That is logical to assume.
Perhaps you could unobtrusively get a closer scan of one of the nearer planets to our current orbit, and see what signs of solar damage those planets are having. Give us an idea of what we're working with here.
We can see if other planets have had similar scarring or ecological effects from solar flares over the past 100 years or so. That is certainly possible, sir.
I'll just remind you, they did explain that the reason why they had the solar scarring was because of a pole shift that happened on their world 200 years ago.
A pulse shift.
The poles like shifted. They swapped.
Oh, a poles shift. Okay.
Yeah, they literally swapped spot. They're in the process of swapping locations on the planet.
Well, yeah. So Locke reminds the captain of that.
Well, thank you for the reminder, Commander.
Captain, is that your phone in the background?
That seems to be one of their primitive entertainment devices.
Is there anything else, Captain?
Not at this time, Commander. Just want to make sure, want to check in so you would know that we are in one piece.
The next check-in is in 32.56 minutes, sir. There is no activity up here that we can see. We are holding steady in orbit.
Very good. Oh, I almost forgot. In case they accept our invitation, have the galley prepare for state dinner. We invited their Supreme Chancellor and some of his advisors to join me for dinner in my mess this evening. And in answer to one of the away team members' questions, let's keep synthahol and other inebriants off the menu this evening.
A wise decision, sir. I will inform the mess, and preparations will be put in order immediately.
Excellent. Pro now.
Johnson comes back and talks to the captain and says, yeah, basically every door on this floor, if we wanted to leave the floor, whether it's the emergency exits or the elevators, requires some sort of key card. We're essentially trapped here on this floor when it's all said and done, sir.
Huh. Almost like what we would do to guests we weren't unsure about on our vessel. We would politely house them in VIP quarters and ask them to stay there.
That is pretty standard security protocol, sir.
Were you able to take any unobtrusive scans of the area?
Not yet, sir. Everything that I did was visual. I can do a scan right now.
Be subtle.
What am I scanning for, sir?
Security measures that we can't see.
All right. GM, is that a role you would like me to do?
No, you want the bigger role.
Yeah. Captain, according to my scans, there are force field emplacements in some of the doorways, automated fire suppression systems, and the outer walls are shielded with an unknown dense metal alloy.
No, I don't know whether to feel safe or secure.
I would say that this is a pretty secure building, and it has pretty standard security procedures in place.
Well, for the time being, we'll just keep our eyes open and wait patiently for our hosts.
Aye, aye, sir.
After a few moments, the other counselor arrives. I hope you find your accommodations to your liking.
No, they are very nice, thank you.
Excellent to hear. Unfortunately, High Counselor Vorex is will be unable to leave the planet at this time. However, Secretary Nani has volunteered to accompany you on board your ship if you would like to still go that route. And will be able to send a security team with any party members you wish to access one of our more barren areas that we wish to recultivate.
I think that would be good. Lieutenant Ray, Ensign Vogel, up for a field trip.
Yeah, I'd like to get a full understanding of what we could be helping with. Although I already have some ideas.
Would definitely love to stretch my legs, Captain.
Well, I figured you would appreciate one fewer trip in the transporter.
Captain, will you be requiring security to go with them?
I don't know if I feel that we need security, but perhaps an extra set of hands and eyes would be useful.
Then I'll go with them, sir. If that's all right with you.
That is perfectly acceptable. Counselor Nail, is it Neely? Nalay.
No,
Counselor Nalay, would that be okay? My science officer, my helmsman, and Miss Ensign Johansson here would like to go on that tour and see how we best can help you.
not a problem.
Charlie's Angel.
Close enough. Uh, I'm assuming you wish to return to your vessel with Secretary Lanny.
Yes, and are there other counselors or members of your government that would like to accompany him?
Not at present, no.
Does Sprung get the impression that Secretary, whatever their name is, just got elected as tribute?
You could speculate however you want on that. Um, Lieutenant Rye and party, please, you're welcome to stay here until we get the shuttle ready for you to depart to the barren air, to the barren lands. If you'll follow me, Captain, I will escort you back to the ring, where you'll meet Secretary Lanny.
Excellent. Um, as Perone and Hale walk with the counselor, Perone is going to ask more questions about their culture. Still, he wants to talk about how they celebrate significant events.
Oh, we have quite a variety of festivals. Several of the different districts celebrate different festivals. Um, Mainly, the big one that we celebrate universally is the finished construction of the ring.
Interesting. How do you celebrate that?
A parade and usually some fireworks, as well as a many families down in um, a feast.
It seems so much of your culture is really bound together with completing this ring and with rehabilitating your world.
It is a hallmark achievement that took 200 years to complete. It allows us to live with the safety in mind that we can venture out without worrying about the sun. Not many remember before the ring's construction that life was a little bit more difficult before the shield went online.
How so?
To venture outside, you had to wear special protection clothing, as well as um, line the buildings with protective materials, as well as uh, the occasional cleansing of the radioactive material to prevent contamination. We lost many people to radiation due to various cancers and other genetic illnesses that resulted from the intense radiation that our sun emits.
I imagine your medical practice has advanced quite a bit during that time as well, just out of necessity.
They did indeed.
We could perhaps have an exchange of information on that. Our medical facilities and our medical practices are very advanced.
But they quite often grew out of necessity, just as yours did.
When we are prepared to share certain knowledge, um, I will keep that in mind and make an appointment to the council. You do have to forgive us being cautious on this matter, but you are new to us, and well, some edge caution on some of the older stories that our people once told.
Older stories in what way? What stories?
They are mere works of fiction, I assure you. But some people are still suspicious this day and age.
Do you mind humoring me? just so I can understand them and get a better sense of your culture?
We have older, well, I should say, theater type productions where aliens from afar would come and invade our people and enslave us. I assure you, they're works of fiction. For the shock of entertaining and the populace.
How long have these sort of productions been ongoing within your culture?
Oh, almost 3 centuries. Though that practice has been long been stopped for quite a while.
Those sorts of entertainments do tend to follow a cycle. We had similar entertainments on our world for a time.
Yes, mythology often has some basis in truth, but at the end of the day, it is just a story. And Hale kind of looks at the captain and kind of gives him a glance of, this is some interesting stuff that we're hearing here.
She escorts you back up. You take the elevator over and then a ride back over to essentially the space elevator, where eventually you arrive back at the hangar. After she parts ways with a slight bow and wishes you luck on your journey, where Secretary Lanny is awaiting.
But we thank Counselor Delay for all of her help and tell her that we look forward to seeing her again.
She expresses the gratitude and looks forward to their next meeting.
Now the player is looking at his notes to see if we have met this Secretary Laney yet. We
We have. We've met her. We met her here, actually.
Brom will greet Secretary Laney warmly.
She smiles and is like, "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm surprised you're wishing to head back so soon. Though I have been asked to accompany aboard your ship. I look forward to this."
Well, I thought it was only fair that we show you a little bit of where we live. Much like your people are, we are understandably would be cautious and careful about what we reveal. But I think that a social evening, a good meal, and the captain's mess would be an opportunity for us to get to know one another.
I look forward to it, Captain. I'm sure my people will endeavor to show the rest of your crew members such. I am blanking on the words of the GM. Okay, this is not the character's fault.
Hospitality?
Hospitality, thank you.
I do it all the time, so no worries.
Of that, I have no doubt. Are you ready to see our ship, Secretary Laney?
I am indeed.
I should warn you, we're going to transport to my ship in a way that can seem concerning to those that aren't familiar with the technology. But most species in this area of space and throughout the galaxies, while we do use the occasional shuttle to get from point A to point B, it's often simpler to use matter transportation. We will be well. I was never much of an engineering student, but the layman's explanation is we're going to take you apart molecule by molecule, transport you to our ship, and then put you back together again.
That seems
Okay, yeah, no, civilians should not describe that.
That seems quite dangerous.
That's the safest way to travel.
I will take
Don't-
your word for it.
I just didn't want to. It's not something you spring on somebody. It just takes a little. Don't want to take. Didn't want to take you by surprise. Where one moment you are here, and the next you are there. But if you are ready, he just kind of waits to see if she's ready.
No, GM has to update his little macro thing.
Ah,
We can take you apart molecule by molecule, move you over there, and put you back together again. Sounds terrifying.
Now you
It
understand why
does.
Vogel has a fear of the transporters.
as a member of the Federation, I'm more a little embarrassed that the Klingons invented the thing before we did.
Well, taking things apart is their speciality, Captain.
Yeah, so putting them back together again, not necessarily so much.
True.
I am ready whenever you are.
Excellent. If you just stand right here next to me. That guard took a big step back.
He's like,
I do not get paid enough for this.
Actually, he's supposed to go with her. So,
Tyrone and Navajo.
she goes, I hope you don't mind. I have been assigned an escort. It is standard
Perfectly
procedure.
understandable. Perfectly understandable. Perone to Navajo.
Navajo, this is Solak, Captain.
This is Solak. I have 4 to beam up. Me,
Acknowledged.
Dr. Hale, and 2 guests.
Understood. We are locked onto you. Transporter room energize.
Now, secretly, should the GM make you make a roll for this? And pray you don't scramble everyone's molecules.
Uh,
I don't know, how lawful evil are you?
Oh, I can be
I'm
like
sorry.
what I want to be.
Even though I'm a player in here, I would say I would make the roll, even if it was just difficulty 1, just in case there's a complication that they get, stick to their stomach or something, thinking, because that would just be funny.
You know what?
I've
You
got the
talked me into
transporter
it.
chiefs. Yeah, I've got his character sheet up, so I'm ready to roll when you are.
It is a control engineering assisted by the ship's sensors plus engineering difficulty of 1. So I'm assuming you're going to the transporter pad, correct? Transporter.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Can someone roll for the ship, please?
I got it.
Oh. So the
Okay,
ship
I'm sorry.
needs-
What am I rolling for the ship again?
Sensors engineering. You do have, I believe, advanced sensors, so you roll 2 dice, and ship always rolls with a focus.
And is this another activation for the transporter chief?
It is.
Since he did that roll.
See, I should up the complication range. Gain a momentum.
You really should have.
Just gonna note the activation here.
That sounds like an individual that needs to focus in transporter systems.
Yeah, he does have a focus in transporters already. I gotta give him a talent now.
You should give him transporter chief. They gave it to him in the Artemis game, and it is like stupidly good.
Transporter chief. Yep. got
Sounds
it right
good to
here.
me.
You're well versed. You're well versed in transporter systems and often get them. Such efforts are without risk, though. When you attempt to use a task, repair, or modify a transporter, you may add 2 threat to reduce the difficulty of the task by 2. Good. He's the transport chief. GM, can Solak be in the transporter room to greet them?
Yeah.
Welcome back, Captain.
Thank you, Commander. Counselor Lonnie, this is my chief engineer and interim first officer, Commander Solak. He is a Vulcan.
He looks at the secretary and holds up the Vulcan salute and says, "Secretary."
She gives a slight bow. Pleasure to meet you. You have the same ears as one of your other officers. I'm assuming you are similar species.
Similar, yes. I believe the officer you are referring to is Lieutenant Rye. She is a half Vulcan, half Betazoid. I am a full Vulcan.
I see.
Well, while I ensure that everything is prepared in the officers' mess for our meal, Commander Solak, if you and Dr. Hale would not mind giving Secretary Lonnie here the visitor's tour of the ship.
Yes, Captain. And all preparations have been made in the officer's mess. Everything is ready for you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. After you've given her the brief visitor's tour of the ship, bring her to the mess, and we should be ready by then.
Yes, sir. Doctor, I think you are better suited to providing the ambience of the situation, providing information to a guest. If there are any technical questions, I am happy to answer. And Hale says, "Thank you, Solak. Secretary, this way. Follow me, please." He leads her out. Please don't make me roleplay a tour of the ship.
We don't have to do that if you don't want to. We could just say narratively.
I'm good. I have no idea where anything is on the ship.
And out of character, I actually just wanted to let Solak have some time with Secretary Lonnie and let Secretary Lonnie spend some time with Solak. I was kind of hoping Solak would give the tour because of their kind of similarities and mannerisms. I wanted to see
Solak's he's a bit introverted. You know, if he doesn't have to, unless you give him an order, he doesn't have to be social. He won't be.
Yeah, there was no good way right there for Secretary Line to go, "Hey, I think the two of you would have a lot in common."
Well, you know, that could have been funny.
You know, we can make just a roll for it based on like your Solak's observations if you want.
Sure.
Be Insight Command difficulty 1. And then we'll just say that you you escort the secretary to, set up quarters that have been set aside for guests.
So is that 1 momentum?
Yeah. And we're going to be switching scenes here soon, so.
Sure. So you may take the momentum away. I'll just do it now.
No, we'll take it after. Oh wait, I just want to let you guys know
Okay.
we will be switching scenes when I go back to the other group.
Sure.
I think I keep getting a little tone. It sounds like someone's playing hokey pokey with their Discord connection.
My headset's been goofy all night.
Sorry, I'm having to take turns wrangling my 1-year-old.
Oh, that's not a big deal. I got a new pair of earbuds because some nights the wife is in here with her scrapbooking show while I'm playing, so I want to get earbuds.
Hold on 1 second.
I could run a game through, and I got these new JBL ones. I thought would be nice because they use JBL for a lot of other things, but I don't know how people use those kind of Apple Pod kind of things because mine keep falling out of my ears.
Captain, what were you doing after this? You heading up to the conference room, or?
He's actually gonna head to the mess just to double check. Well, actually, Solak is pretty efficient. Probably doesn't need to do that. He will just kind of check the ship's logs to see if he's missed anything in the several hours he's been gone, and make sure everything is set just so in the officer's mess, whatnot. I mean, honestly, he just sent. Really, I mean, out of character, I sent the secretary was Solak because I thought perhaps she would be more comfortable with the Vulcan, and I wanted to see if that particular hunch would come across.
So after she gets out of the quarters, are you wanting to have a conversation with him about it, or?
Probably later, since we're hosting the secretary. My thought for the meal is just kind of introduce her to whatever Solak had the mess prepare. Probably keep the dinner fairly casual, and casual may not work well for this species, but informal. An opportunity to kind of informally talk a little bit about the different cultures. Want to kind of invite ranking crew member of slightly different species, except the Tellarite.
Except the Tellarite. Dang!
I don't think they're quite ready for Tellarites yet. We'll bring that. It's kind of like introducing them to the Ferengi. We're going to hold off on that for now. Just kind of give them a slow introduction. So, I know we've got a Bolian crew member. So maybe some of the more different looking folks. So I have a disparate guest list of people on dinner for different worlds that they can talk about their world with the secretary, and hopefully through her getting to know Solak and hopefully more comfortable being with Solak, who seems to be like them. She may be more open to talk about her world as well.
All right. I'm just gonna fast forward to the conference area. So yeah, your other alien-looking crew members, they're fall in the Tellurite category apparently.
We have vacation.
We do.
Yeah, that's a little on the more extreme side.
Wasn't sure how we wanted to go.
Yeah, the extreme in appearance, it doesn't. It's not. That's not what bothers. That's what I'm cautious about with Tellarites. It's what Tellarites consider to be polite conversation. Probably not something you introduce to somebody on a first date, first contact.
So is this where we're having the dinner? Is in the conference room?
My guess is that the GM does not have
I do not have a
captain's
map.
menu.
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to double check. What? You don't have a map for a captain's
I mean,
mess?
they
What's wrong
held
with you?
they held the Star Trek 6. They had the dinner with the Klingons in their conference
right.
room. So
Was that a conference room? I thought it was in the mess hall.
no, I think that was in the conference room. Because if you look at the table,
Oh.
it curves. So, and it was near the bridge, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter.
I mean, ultimately, I'd like this ship to have the captain's mess talent eventually, and
Deluxe galley.
really, my goal someday is to spend a milestone of one of my own milestones on having quarters like pikes.
Yeah, it's massive, huge quarters where like you can roller skate your way through the
With a fireplace and a kitchen in it. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Somewhere in that refit between Captain Pike's tenure and Captain Kirk's tenure as captain, Kirk got the short end of the stick there.
I think they enlarged the Constitution class for in Stranger Worlds / Discovery. Like they made it slightly bigger, they made it closer to 400 meters in length. So it grew a little bit. And also you have to remember the budget size from the 1960 show to present day. Stark difference, like several millions of dollars difference. So
yeah, those are the same arguments I make with people that unlike me just hate Discovery. And I like Discovery, but I especially love Strange New Worlds. I heard someone suggest that the actual crew size of the Constitution class starship changed between Pike and Kirk, and that was the explanation for why Kirk's quarters were so much smaller. Is the quarters were revamped?
Yeah, they're citing what is it, the cage, where he says that there's 200 people on the ship, and then they're making the series, and Kirk says that there's 400 people on the ship. That's just because at that time the writers they're trying to figure all this out, right? But I think that's what people are citing.
They base it off carrier numbers. So
yeah, exactly.
And carriers typically have around 400 to 500 crew members, especially during.
I think carriers now have something like 1,000.
Yeah, at the time in the 60s, they had close to 500.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyhow, before we go down history trivia here, you are all gathered, and there's a nice banquet of various foods from different worlds on the table. I'm assuming that's what you wanted.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like I said, I'll let some of the other folks around the table introduce themselves to the secretary and tell her a little bit about their worlds. And as we sample different foods, Perron will introduce the food and say this is from such and such world. Sorry about the uncooked mouse. That's the Keisha. No, just kidding.
Keisha's favorite food is Betazoid, apparently.
Hey, at least we don't have any Klingon crew members, and I don't have to serve Ga. I think much like the Tellarites, Ga is something that we kind of hold off until second contact.
she tries a little bit of the various other foods, and she's like, it's like, this is, says this is quite interesting. Oh, this tastes very similar to, such and such dish on, her homeworld. So unless anyone else wishes to do role play, I can summarize, certain conversations if you want, for the sake of time.
Yeah. I got to be honest. I'm small talked out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm kind of running out of specific questions, but for Perone, his questions tend to revolve around culture and beliefs, and things like that. And other members of the crew might have different focuses in the questions they have. I imagine Solok's questions have a lot about doing technology and engineering and whatnot.
Yeah, he would be asking about the ring and what's their technology for starships and all that kind of stuff.
I'll just say how she discussed some of that stuff. She points out the things that in terms for technology for Starship, it's very rudimentary. Like you would think of, we'll just say Enterprise era type deal.
Yeah.
So very, very rudimentary type stuff. Slightly beyond think of the jump like before they started Warp 5 from the Phoenix, and they've kind of made a quick jump there, which the way he describes like how they built the ring is probably not as shocking considering they've been engaged in space travel for the past 200 years. So they just are now taking the leap to go faster than light, essentially. But yeah, that's the sort of how that conversation would go. And
got it.
So any other questions during the meal? Or insight checks you want to make?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. That's where I was going to go. I was kind of curious, how well does she handle meeting the Bolian and the Cation and people from different worlds and that look different than we do?
She wasn't startled. It was more like she was. You get the sense that she was expecting it. Like you get the sense that she was prepared. She prepared herself mentally for whatever cultural shock that she may encounter.
How well did she, or much, did she engage in conversation with those crew members? I mean, was she curious?
She was very curious, and at some point you could tell that she lightened up and was not as, like, especially with the Bolian, she was, kind of lightened up and was kind of laughing or giggling here and there. Like, she expressed more emotions than, what you've seen.
Cool. That was the kind of thing I was interested in. It's good to know they're not complete Vulcans. But speaking of which, since it was my hypothesis, does she seem more comfortable with Solok than she is with others?
Not that you could tell.
Hale wants to ask her about the stories that Counselor Nalais talked about, of performances that involve aliens coming down, stuff that's been done for 300 years, that sort of stuff.
She kind of laughs. Oh, you mean that old theater production? what was the name of it? Life or Invasion from the Furnace. It's the planet we call the super Earth that has a toxic atmosphere. It was a fantasy thinking that there were another life was on that world, but our studies have shown that no life could possibly exist on it.
But culturally, this theater production and what it talks about, it's been able to sustain and for 300 something years. Is that correct?
Well, there's been other spin-offs of that particular production. So, and revamps and remakes. It's gone on for far too long. And there's other things of beings coming from across the galaxy to invade. We have varieties of other things. Even mechanical machines that have revolted. It's really just works of fiction.
Well, how do you feel that your people will react now that actual aliens have arrived?
Grateful that you're not space invaders.
And Hale smiles at that. Cheers that.
And you notice in the remarks she kind of chuckles a little bit, from saying that, and returns the gesture. She's picking up some of where she's kind of picked up a lot of your cultural mannerisms really quickly, it seems.
Yeah, in an effort to kind of build common ground, since Hale's kind of started down that line, Perone will tell her about War of the Worlds and how that radio broadcast had been, a little bit about the plot and how the original broadcast of that caused a limited panic in some parts because people thought it was a real newscast, and just kind of show that we had those kind of stories too.
She laughs. Thankfully, we did not have a similar reaction on our world for some of the productions that were done. We did have radio broadcast as well during our infancy.
And Perona used that as a tie-in to get her and Zola talking about kind of parallel technological evolution, or parallel evolution in technology, and how many species tend to follow the same line of technological advancements.
She sort of makes the comment, such commonality must be some sort of universal truth within the cosmos. She goes, and then she kind of quotes, like, after all, the language of the universe is mathematical.
Perone nods at that and says, and yet we have the constant, even despite differences in outward appearance, kind of point at like the Bolian and the Cajun. I forget what species the guy in the middle is. Still 2 arms, 2 legs, sometimes a tail.
Benzite. He's a benzite, and he is a Efrosian. Efrosian. How's that pronounced? Efrosian?
Efrosian.
Efrosian, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the flow of conversation in the evening. We're just kind of getting to know one another and introducing her so that she can prep her people for the vast diversity that is out among the stars. Still not ready for Tellarites yet, though.
Make a. I'll get it to you. You kind of get the feeling that you get the feeling that she was sent here specifically to kind of study you and kind of learn like about your culture in a way, because she's been during the entire conversation, she's been asking a lot of different questions and picking up the cultural mannerisms to the point where like you feel like she's taking all of this in remarkably quickly.
Seems Bro would think to himself, it seems like she was sent here for the same reason that he's been inviting Dr. Hale to all these meetings. More common ground. This is way too easy. When do they peel their skin back to show that they're reptiles who are really interested in eating us?
I'm waiting for a Cylon moment. Just not gonna lie.
Or the moment from the old show V when you the first time you see one of the visitors extend their jaw to eat a mouse.
Nah,
Anything else from this dinner before we jump scenes and head back to the planet?
Not for me. I'm actually quite anxious to see what the ground team learns.
I'm good.
All right, scene change.
Is that a momentum there?
Yep, that is
Yep,
a
yeah, thanks.
reduction in
Got it.
momentum. As Vogel, Rye, and Johansson, you are need to populate it more. You're several like of these troopers, and then another woman kind of approaches you. Goes, "I am Major Venice. I will be your escort." She kind of looks like studies the three of you. You look similar enough. You kind of notice like she's got what appears to be some sort of technological augmentation on the side of her face. If you come with me, I'll escort you to one of the shuttles, and we will head out to the Barrenlands to where you can conduct your survey.
Thank you, Major.
What can we expect from these so-called barren lands?
They are as described, barren. Dust, rocks, maybe some insects that still be alive. There's not much there.
Do any of your kind live out there in the Barrens?
No. We can't stay long. The radiation there is still quite high. You'll have at most 30 minutes to conduct your survey before we have to depart.
Very well. About how much of the planet would you say is now barren compared to what y'all have been able to rehabilitate?
Currently 50% of land. The other half is either been reconstructed or is in the process of it. It has been a slow, tedious process. We estimate currently it'll take roughly about another 80 years to complete at current technological levels.
Maybe if our two governments can co-align, we might be able to speed that up.
That is not for me to decide. I simply follow orders.
Oh, me neither. I'm just very fascinated. I'm the not human, by the way. Ears, eyes.
Of course.
Just in case you had any questions.
I do not. As you approach the shuttle, she motions you all to enter before she takes. There's a pilot waiting for you on the inside of on the essentially a shuttlecraft.
How similar is it to, like, I mean, from the time period like we're comparing them to, how similar is it to like Enterprise era shuttlecraft?
It's close. It
Okay.
is on the larger side. Theorize it's using some sort of um. It does have like wings on it to help it. You assume conserve fuel by using some form of aerodynamics. But yeah, it lifts off and you start flying away from the city. It doesn't take long before you start seeing like the trees, get less, or slowly get less and less. You see some like larger construction, areas. Fly past what looks like to be a vast canyon. As you kind of closely more inspect it, it seems like that area has been stripped mined. And as you go a little bit further, eventually the shuttle lands after about an hour's worth time of flight. And just as she said earlier, the area is a vast, barren, you know, wasteland in a way. Uh, she goes, Irish caution. Uh, you'll feel a sense of heat here. Don't be alarmed. It is perfectly all right, though the heat is generated from the radiation, the radioactive decay from the soil.
All right, 30 minutes. That's what we've got to do here.
All right, tricorders out.
You exit, and it is as you described. You definitely get a sense like it's heat not from the sun that you see above, but it's emanating from the ground itself.
Oof.
So like Vulcan or like more than that?
More than that, more like
Okay.
essentially Death Alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like very hot. Like probably I don't know the equivalent Celsius terms, but around 100, 110, 120 degrees. Very dry.
Wow.
It's not like humid or anything.
100 freedom units. Got it. So Texas.
Hey, it's not always 110 here.
No, sometimes it's 99.
Hey, we get very cold winters in the mid 60s.
All right, I'm going to start scanning.
Give me reason plus science, difficulty 2.
Can I assist?
Yeah.
I'm going to use a momentum for cautious. I don't think any of my focuses apply, so we're just going to do this.
Hey. Is that 2 that we bank?
That is 2. As the two of you work together, to it is definitely as they indicated, there is high levels of radiation, most likely due to solar activity. This area is what you would typically find on Mars uh, before some of the restoration of it.
Oh, okay. So if we can handle the radiation problem, definitely re-terraformable.
A lot of the I think this is your question. A lot of the micronutrients, well, essentially the elements in the soil that will allow for cultivation have been essentially chipped away because of the radiation. So new soil, new nutrients would have to be introduced into the soil in order to cultivate it back to habitable standards.
Oh, okay, but that's probably within our purview. Uh, yeah, Cap, that's a question I'd have to ask the major, I think. So I'm thinking of science questions. Anybody have a good science question?
Are there any signs of microbial life in this soil, or has all that been burned away?
Uh, for momentum, let's see if studious, which you do.
She's a science officer, so I think
I do have studios.
Uh, there is
she is
no.
a science officer too.
Yeah, you already told her one for the free question earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The microbial life is mostly dead. There are some extremophobes. Well, yeah, I think I'm saying it right. That are still or that are present, that are kind of thriving in this kind of state. But anything that would be conducive to help to regenerate the soil have long since perished.
Johansson walks up to the major while they're doing their scans and says, "Major, I have a question for you, if I may."
Of course.
I'm a tactical officer. I couldn't help but notice the piece of technology that you have there on your face. Is that an enhancement of some kind?
Yes,
Is it cybernetic?
indeed.
Did you Was that because of an injury? Did you do that because you wanted to enhance your performance on the battlefield? What was the reason for it?
It helps automate my immune system.
Is that for outings like this dealing with radiation?
Yes.
So you're out here a lot, I take it.
Sometimes.
So does that allow you to be out here for longer periods of time, let's say longer than 30 minutes?
It does.
That makes sense. Do all of the soldiers that are out here have similar augmentations?
No, but the suit helps protect them.
And so you can have that without needing to have the suit.
Correct.
Makes sense.
But sometimes my duties do not require me not to wear the suit.
Makes sense. Thank you. So what'd you find, Lieutenant?
Well, there's definitely been a lot of damage, appropriate for what they're discussing and what they've said has happened, which is good. Well, it's bad. Never mind. But some of the stuff we may be able to aid with, terraforming in particular, that's something that Science Corps would be useful at. I do wonder, do you know how exactly, at this point scientifically, you guys are reclaiming the land that you already have, Major?
I am not privy to that information.
Who's the person in charge of the cleanup? Is there an individual in charge, or is it a committee?
That is the job of the council.
Understood. I guess the council's still in session. I don't think that we heard their answer as to whether or not they'll accept our help.
I am not aware of the current council's plans or meetings.
I'd like to spend a momentum for a vibe check on the major.
What do you wish to know about the major?
Well, her emotional state, is it similar to the others I have experienced on this planet? Is there anything seeming more like underlying hostility or anything like that? Other than being a soldier and having aliens on your planet?
You have 15 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Is the radiation levels? Hold on, I'm so sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Are the radiation levels like this planet wide, strength wise?
This is the more higher concentration. Some areas were fortunate enough, some other areas are completely dead, and we have sealed off. This site area, we believe, is more obtainable for repurposing.
If you're already taking steps to reclaim parts of the planet, this might just be a simple issue of scalability.
Yeah, I think that's the part we might be able to help with, hopefully.
If the council wills it, then I'm sure they'll be grateful for any assistance you offer.
Was there anything else that you want to scan here, Lieutenant?
Yeah, I'm gonna do another scan. I'd like to do like a life science scan. Sorry, GM.
Reason plus medicine or a we'll go or medicine or science difficulty of 2.
May I assist as well?
Sure. Are you doing this discreetly from the major, or I guess she couldn't tell.
I mean, I'm doing it. They know I'm doing scans. I just
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
I mean, I am gonna use a cautious. I'm gonna use a momentum for cautious though.
Gain 2. You detect 18 life signs.
How far from our current position?
Detect 7 in your immediate position, and you detect 11 more approaching rapidly. I need everyone to make an insight security check difficulty of 2.
Security should probably go first.
Or you could do
Situational
it.
awareness.
Sure.
Can I use Starfleet protocol as a focus?
Take a threat, please, Gian.
Certainly. I get threat finally.
Oh, you're getting another one too.
Well, we got the momentum. That's why I was thinking have the security officer go first, try to build us some momentum.
Oh, okay.
She's got bold security though, so yeah. But I know what you mean. I know what you meant. Yeah, I could re-roll one of those. Well, no, I think you only re-roll if it's a combination.
Well, you can re-roll
No,
the 16 if you want.
I'll re-roll the 16.
Kind of fish.
I'm gonna fish.
Fish.
Oh, that was close.
I'm going to take a momentum.
Gain 2.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Since I'm bad at this, I'm going to take 3 momentum if you don't mind.
Oh,
I am bad at this.
Okay, Vogel.
Just as you complete your sensor scan and you kind of look, Johnson and Rye, you notice this. You see a missile streak straight for the transport you're in. The major says, "Get down," as she grabs her rifle, pointing it towards a valley. Vogel, unfortunately, you missed this as you kind of trying to figure out what's going on for the sake of the complication. A large explosion. Swear I have. We'll just do that. Reeks out as you are, and the ground shakes rapidly from the shuttle exploding behind you. Vogel, you take 4 stress.
Ouchie.
And with that, we're going to go back to the Navajo's bridge. You two are not there. You're not there.
it's just us, Captain.
Who is on watch at tactical?
Isn't there isn't it a gig?
The Tellarites have been put in charge of the ship. I see.
The Tellarites are in charge, you know?
This will all end in tears.
Gig says, Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet.
Put it on screen.
It's audio only. They're requesting that Secretary Lenny be immediately extracted back to the ring.
Okay. Inquire as to if there is a problem.
They're requesting that she has important matters to attend to on the surface, and that she needs to come home quickly.
Very well. Commander Solak, you'd make those arrangements.
Yes, sir. I will locate the secretary immediately. I believe that she was on the hollow deck with Dr. Hale.
She was in her quarters.
Or in her quarters, whatever.
The quarters you assigned.
Lieutenant Crantonis, is there anything in their communication net that would be worrisome? Any hint in the communication net that might lead us to understand why they're recalling their secretary on such short notice.
No, sir.
Very well. Let's let's keep an eye on what they're talking about down there.
Aye, sir. Uh,
And Solok will leave the bridge and go to the transporter room to see to it that the secretary is beamed down safely.
anyone calling down to the secretary, or
Solok is. Solok calls down to the secretary and asks her to report to the transporter room.
you get no response?
Captain, I'm not receiving any response from the secretary. Computer, locate Secretary Lenny on ship.
Quarters, deck 10. Section blah 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 blah.
Captain, no response from Secretary Lenny, but she is on board in her quarters.
Interesting. You have the con, Mr. Solak. Mr. Cranston, you're with me. And then Perron will take him, take the security officer, and head down there himself. Along the way, he's going to call for, just in case, he's going to call for medical.
How many activations are you at?
We've done 2 tonight. 3. No, 3 total.
Okay, so
3.
you have 2 left. So you activating Whitman? Your CMO, or are you activating someone else? Because she does use 2.
We do have Dr. Amon if you want to use him, Captain.
Yeah, let's use the one that's not going to cost us both of our remaining crew support, just in case.
Okay, you arrive at the outside of her quarters that you signed.
Is this an emergency, Captain? Amon says.
Captain here.
We lose the captain.
Sorry, I for a moment blanked out and forgot that I had push to talk enabled. Yeah, the captain will press the chime and just one more attempt to see if she'll come to the door and call to the door for her. But if she doesn't answer within a few seconds, he will use his command code to override the door and open it.
You use your command code to override the door.
And then he will walk in.
Upon entering, you see Dr. Laney in a pool of her own blood along with the trooper. With his helmet off, you can see it looks like part of his skin has been kind of sort of crusty and peeling a little bit. A knife in his hand, a knife that laying down on the ground, and his throat appears to have been slit.
And the secretary's condition?
I don't know. She's lying in a
Amon
pool
will
of her
go
own
over.
blood.
Amon will go over and assess her condition immediately.
Reason medicine difficulty 2.
Gig will be standing in between the captain and the problem, just in case.
Surgery, internal medicine. Either one would you take?
I'll take internal medicine. Don't forget he also gets since he's being activated, he does get an upgrade.
I think this is his first. No, we've
No.
had his first. Yeah, this is
This
this is his third. This is his third.
He needs a value.
Activation. Damn it.
I mean, it can be something as cliched as first do no harm, but it definitely needs a value so that he gets stress and access to determination.
Yeah. So goofy, man. Okay, third. So value.
Driven to ease suffering, perhaps.
Yeah, something like that. That's good. How about not on my watch? Or how about without health, life is not life?
Could be something like all things have a right to live or something, because he has infectious diseases.
Yeah, let's
So
do
I could
that.
see
That's
him
good.
So I could see him sympathetic toward all the little
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm. All things have a right to live. Good. Okay, you said reason medicine, and it was difficulty 2. I'll
Yes.
give you another. I'll give you another threat because he's got bold medicine.
Up in your complication by 1. So comp 2.
Comp 2. And rolling dice.
Gain a momentum.
That's on Doc, yeah.
She has multiple lacerations in her abdomen. The extent of the damage is unclear. You do know that if she does not get immediate medical attention, she could die.
He taps his comm badge and says, "Sick bay, emergency medical transport to the sick bay. Myself and the secretary immediately."
And with that, we'll let this to be continued.
Dun dun dun.